The woods of Foster Rhode Island are gorgeous, but what if I told you that in here is allegedly one of the most haunted places in New England? So ghostly that the official 1885 Rhode Island census even designated this as a haunted place. Oh, this just got real. Welcome to the haunted Ramtail factory remains. There are debates over the exact location of the haunted mill, since there are a few major ruins here. There was once a grist mill on the water here, a sawmill where these bridge remains are, and a mill and a farm here in the woods. They're all close to each other, and I'll be showing all three to tell this tale. There isn't much left of them today, but this story made it worth it to hike to find them. By the 1800s, manufacturing had become a huge part of many New England communities, and that's exactly what happened here along the Ponagansett River. The history of this spot dates back to 1790 when William Potter purchased the land and a few small mills from Jonathon Hopkins, the first recorded settler of the area. In 1813, he decided that he wanted to ball out and expand operations. Potter enlisted the help of his son Olney, brother-in-law Jonathan, and his sons-in-law Marvin and Peleg. This last partner, Peleg Walker, is the one to note here, because it's said to be his ghost that roams these woods. We'll get to that in a bit though. On March 20th, 1813, these guys purchased 6 acres of land for $125 for the Foster Woolen Manufacturing Company, shown here on this map from 1864 as Potter Factory, and where all the remains we see today are. Wait, if this is Potter Factory, then why is it called Ramtail Factory? That nickname came about from the process where woven cloth would be stretched out and loose pieces of wool would be clipped. These pieces would fall to the floor and curl, resembling little adorable ram's tails. There are no photos or drawings of the original mill. This will give you a solid idea of what it looked like. A stone foundation with the upper floors constructed of wood. In order to survive the harsh winters here, the wheel used to power the mill was likely implemented inside and under the floor. There's evidence of that here with what's called the wheel pit, where the water would pass through under the floors, spin the wheel, and get that machinery running. There was also a small village that used to be here, built up around the mill. Those foundations are buried here beneath over a century of growth and decay. I visited this spot alone on a freezing day. I didn't want to subject my friends to frostbite and a potential haunting, so this was a solo trip. This is actually trickier to find than I thought it would be. I'm way out here and it's dead quiet. It's kind of nice though. Part of what made it tricky is that there's a river separating the two sections of ruins. 200 years ago, I could have just crossed the bridge to get there. I wasn't down to fully freeze, so I had to double back and find a bridge to get to the other side. Okay, so yes, I found the locations, but why are they ruins and why are they haunted? Let's get back to 1813 when Ramtail Factory was up and running. Its first several years were actually pretty successful, but things changed for the worst in 1822. Remember that guy Peleg Walker I mentioned earlier, founding partner of Ramtail Factory, the guy who haunts these woods? Well, it's getting dark, and it's time to tell his tale. In the book Rhode Island's Haunted Ramtail Factory, which everyone should read, author Tom D'Agostino says, "The life of Peleg Walker would have been unremarkable had it not been for the chain of events that brought his name into eternal fame." Peleg was born in 1787 in Foster, Rhode Island, and was honestly a pretty cool guy. He was 26 years old when he entered the partnership with his wife's family in 1813, and that business venture was going really well. Peleg began purchasing land around Ramtail Factory, including a 25-acre plot in 1816 and a group of mills in nearby Burrville in 1821. In January 1822, he bought his brother-in-law's share of the mill for $1,000. But only 4 months later, in May 1822, at the age of 35, Peleg Walker would be found dead inside Ramtail Factory. Financial records at the time suggest Peleg was living well beyond his means. Records indicate ownership of mahogany tables, fine linens, and a white Lamborghini Countach. Seriously, Peleg? Come on. He may have been outwardly rich, but he was in some serious debt. So there was an agreement that Peleg's holdings would be handed back over to William Potter and his son only. Employees overheard this heated argument, with Peleg saying, "The next time you get these factory keys from me, they'll be out of the pocket of a dead man." On May 17th and 18th, a series of 3 deeds were drafted, transferring a ton of Peleg's assets. Deed 1 transferred 25 acres of land around the factory, a quarter of Peleg's factory ownership, and all the machinery to William Potter, the senior partner. Deed 2 transferred 1/4 of Ramtail to only Potter. Deed 3 transferred 12 acres of land that Peleg had previously owned from William Potter to his son only. Sunday, May 19th, 1822, Peleg Walker was nowhere to be found in his house or in the village. Family members looked for him, and the Potters went inside Ramtail Mill, where Peleg was often the night watchman. Upon entering, they found blood on the steps leading to Peleg's body. A diary entry from Mary Williams, whose mother lived and worked at the mill, references Peleg saying, "One cut his throat in the tall hour, and it showed blood all down the stairs." The cause of death was ruled a suicide, and people speculated it was because of Peleg's debts and loss of assets. Peleg was buried about a mile away from the mill, with his stone reading, "Mr. Peleg Walker died May 19th, 1822, in his 35th year. Life how short, eternity how long." But this isn't the end of Peleg's story. Shortly after his death, the Ramtail factory's bell would inexplicably ring each night at midnight. There were also reports of a figure that looked like Peleg walking in and around the factory with his lantern, late at night. One time, they found the factory running at full speed, every wheel, loom, and spindle turning, when no one was there. The mill workers were said to be so spooked that they fled the tiny village of Ramtail, and the mill eventually went out of business. It was set on fire in 1873, and the village left to crumble. This photo from 1917 is a rare one that shows the actual Ramtail factory remains in the background. It's said that on some moonlit nights, the ghost of Peleg Walker can still be seen swinging his lantern through the ruins, and at midnight, when conditions are just right, you can still hear the bell toll. To this day, it remains the only place in Rhode Island officially listed as haunted on the state census, which only adds to the mystery surrounding these ruins. I went out here by myself, but maybe I wasn't alone after all. To see more interesting Rhode Island icons like this and learn about their history, you can check out the rest of my videos on my channel right now. Thank you very much for watching.